a messy game. We had a lot of issues communication-wise at that place, which led to like burning timeouts and mismanaging the timeout before the half got over when we were down there. The phones kept cutting out. We're up in the box and we communicate down to the boundary. And, last year, our people knew about it. The current phone system would not operate or function at all. All these new phone systems are wireless. Okay, so it wouldn't work there. I don't know. It's the dynamics of the press box with all the media right down in front of you. I don't know. That's above, my mind is why the phone systems work. So we had to use our old one, which kind of works. But in 30 years, I've never been through that where I'm constantly going dark, making calls, and the phones would just shut right out. So I don't know if you guys remember, Ryan, I know it was at the game. The first time out we had to call was strictly related to Marty not being able to make a call because he's making a call, but there's dead air. And they would go out and then come back on, go out, come back on, about every minute and a half. So we're constantly dealing with that. We're switching headphones. He's jumping on the defensive line. So it was a complete nightmare. I don't have the answer to it as to why none of the phone systems work at Tiffin. I do know the remedy. Just don't go there and play again. And that's the plan. So, we had one timeout left right before the second half. We're driving the ball. We get down there. Marty has to run outside the press box. So he's way down at the end of the stadium, up high, calling the game. That's the only way he can keep his signal alive. And then Kirby and I are talking to each other. We have one timeout. We're going to save it for the field goal. Well, you can't tell Marty that because he's way on the other side. And I'm not going to run out because I'm in the middle of, discussing strategy with Kirby, who maintains the timeouts and the clock management because he's real good at it. He's been a head coach and he's been around the game for a long time. So we had it handled, and then, the timeout got called by another group of people that weren't in the mix with us communication-wise. So it was a nightmare. As far as how the game went, it was, I was just talking with Al on the way down. We played really good in parts and really bad in other parts, whereas one mistake or one play that was not executed right, whether it was a missed tackle, led to a lot worse things, like a little snowball rolling down a hill and turning into a big snowball. That happened to us. Missed tackles. That's how Demarius got injured. We had him third and long in the first series. We didn't have a gap covered right in a blitz, and we had a guy come Scott clean, and we don't execute. And the guy takes off and gets down the field, and Demarius, has that injury. And it's unfortunate because he was last week coming along. He was turning into a pretty good corner, and now now we got his situation. But it was a back and forth game. We did some good things on defense. We did some things that hurt us. That third and short blitz that we ran, and they ran speed option out the weak side. Probably shouldn't have called it, but there's a mechanism there to handle it. We just didn't execute. You remember the pitch that he ran down their boundary for a touchdown in third and short. So we struggled there. Offensively, at times they couldn't handle us, and at times we couldn't handle them. So it was back and forth. And the game it was getting chippy out there. There was a lot of, and that's okay. I'm good with that. We didn't go down to Tiffin and let them bully us or anything. You know what I mean? We're gonna fight back and be a tough football team. Sometimes that kind of stuff goes on a little bit, And as we get into our program down the road here the next couple of years, I don't think people want to get into that game with us when we get where we want to get. And so, but you got to crawl before you run, right? And so it was back and forth. We had our opportunities, and as did they, and we just didn't capitalize. We got a couple guys that were out of the game from injuries. Some of them we won't get back for the rest of the year. So that part of it I don't like, but that's football.
You feel like the team steadily improved from the Ashland game? to the Tiffin?
Yeah, they're better. We're better, but um, where we're at a little bit just in team speed and execution of when small things don't get done right, they lead to big things that are bad. So, the small things got to get better. And, our team speed and our execution speed, there's only one way to fix that, and that's going to be through athleticism and development. You know what I mean? And so we play how we play right now. But I was talking with Ryan. What was the score of the game last year down at Tiffin? 50-something to 7?
6-7 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that Saturday. And there's no moral victories in a loss. And that's the way I live. But I know we didn't get blown out, and it was a tight game. We had it tied up, and at the time when it was tied up and we had momentum, we lost momentum and didn't get across the fence to get the game pushed the way we wanted to get pushed. And so we got to keep fighting, and I told the players, because you go through this run of not getting done what you want to get done, and it's disheartening for them. And I tell them the last 2 weeks, you have to have the will and the fight to deserve to win a game. If you don't have that, you don't deserve to win. So you have to think that way and prepare that way and go about your life that way. And so that's our message to them. You've got to prepare, all right? And when it comes game time, your inner drive and your mental state have to be at a higher level than your opponent, so that you put yourself in a position to win. And that so-called you deserve to win, okay? And so, until we do that, we're not going to win. And when we do that, then we have a chance to win.
Another big game from Jake. It seems like the defense knows he's going to get the ball the majority of the time, but just unstoppable. What is he doing that just, it doesn't matter how the defense lines up, he's still going to get his?
Well, he's hard to tackle. He's got a good initial quickness. He's got a lot of body power. So even though he's not a real big person or a real big back, it's hard to get him off his feet. And he's got good vision, and he's got good quickness. He's got good lateral movement and initial quickness. So he gets hard to deal with. But people bounce off him too. And so, but he takes his body. It takes a toll on him physically after every game. It takes us a few days to get him back and get him ready to go. But that's when you have a player that's carrying that kind of workload and taking that much contact. They all get like that. I mean, Jason was the same way when I was at Ferris, our quarterback, who won the Harlan Hill 2 years in a row. We put a lot on his plate and ran him to death and made him do it all. And Jason was, 6'3", 250 pounds, but it still took him to Wednesday to get on the field. And that's what you deal with during the season. And he's a good back. And, if people are overplaying him, we start throwing the ball. As, the first drive we had, who caught the first touchdown? Was it Ryan? Yeah. And got him and got the ball moving. We got it to Rayvon a few times. So you play that game and take what they give you. And when you get into critical situations in a game, you gotta go with your best player, and that's where he comes into play a lot, especially after the quarterback was out, and we had to rely on him a little bit more than we normally would.
Any update on Ryan Johnson?
Yeah, he's fine.
He's good?
Yeah, he's fine. Now there's rules out there that don't let me comment on what their injury is or anything like that, so I don't want to get into it, but he'll be ready to go. He'll be ready to go.
Earlier in the season, you've mentioned that the team's maturity is sort of a vice of the team. Do you think that's improved at all? Do you think?
Yeah, to some level, not where you really want it, but it's better. It's a lot better. When we get into a real hot moment or a real critical situation where the fire's real hot, it'll rear its little head here and there, but it goes away. More or less just talking to the players about what our expectations are and how they're going to act and how they're going to handle things. But you can talk about things and teach it to them until they really go through it and experience it a lot. you don't really get that experience to get the result that you need until they go through it, and you do it in practice, but it's still not the same. They got to go through it in games, and so we're starting to play better as we play more, but we've got a ways to go, and so we'll keep pushing forward. Saginaw's a good team. Jimmy's a good person, a friend of mine down there, the head coach. He does a great job. So their offense is, they do a nice job, packaged very well. It's very clean. They operate pretty good, and they got a nice back from Muskegon Catholic Central. Their quarterback is a good player. Their tight ends are a good group. They don't get much credit, but I think they're a real good group at what they utilize them for. And so we have to get ready to handle that. Every week is a different scheme. Last week it was triple and veer and short passing game, and now it turns into what Saginaw does. And on defense, they're basically a tight eagle 4-3 quarter team, and so Marty and those guys will get ready for that. But there is progress in just the way our team, mental state and the health of the program as far as how to be a real college football program. Yeah, there's progress. Do we have a long way to go? Absolutely. And so, but I don't plan on going anywhere for a long time, so we should get there, and we'll do it all together.